Hey there. Some of you out there, because I know that I don't get a lot of views, some of you will be able to understand this, but there's a video channel called Snedeker, Snedheads, Dave Snedeker. He's got a pretty good following, and one of the guys that provides him data is a guy that's pretty thoroughly familiar with the breakdown of how the stock market works. GameStop, Robinhood, what is it, Blues something. You can go to the YouTube channel, Dave Snedeker, and they did a pretty good job this evening of sort of breaking down what are known as short selling, put stops, basically how the stock market is much like game theory, is what it really is. Okay. And so that's their financial system. That's basically how they rob everybody, which creates so much acid waste, right? And so you can't alkalize that. And so that's energy harvesting. Okay. They harvest the electrons, okay, that represent the electricity that runs through you. And then you experience the reality that you're experiencing as a result of the loss of light, okay, that they drain out of you as a result of the way that they run the financial system that your consciousness is plugged into. Now, I covered that before about the way that time clocks in DNA, okay, work to a calendar that they put up that is based on the speed and the travel of the electrons that is tied to a game theory system of the financial markets, global financial markets. So if you're going to collapse their system where they no longer have any way in which to fund everything that they do, they're out of business. They're done. Okay? So he put it together pretty fast and realized that he used an analogy like this. You have an elephant. They're the elephant. They're too big to fail. Remember that? So how do you get an elephant to eat away at an elephant? Now, I'll give you a place where you can sort of use another analogy, and that would have been when the Third Reich, okay, decided they wanted to take on the Soviet Union. And if you know your history from World War II on the Eastern Front, particularly when you take a look at what was known as the Abwehr. The Abwehr was essentially the old guard of the German Empire, World War I, Titanic, and this goes all the way back to their plan, okay? If you put it together between President Wilson, remember President Wilson, Taft, the Federal Reserve Act, the Titanic, World War I, post-World War I, go into the setup of the Nazi Third Reich, Adolf Hitler, who he's related to, those bloodline families, and basically you're simply putting a puzzle together of how they rape and pillage the minds of everybody on the planet by plugging you into something that's going to drain all your light, okay, that they feed on, because that's what they are. They're vampires, okay? And that causes you to lose an enormous amount of light, puts you out of peace and harmony and balance. Then you got to go back to them through their medical system, upon which they put all kinds of crap in your body, including alien DNA, which fucks up your DNA software, and which they make money off that. They make money off of everything that you do. That's why the entire system is parasitic. That's the energetic system that your consciousness is plugged into, in which they drain all your energy. Okay? Now, I've explained that in detail, going all the way back to the beginning of my videos. That's called mapping the terrain. So when you map the terrain of how many electrons are flowing through everybody's circuits, that represents the DNA software of what you experience, that can be quantified between the difference of the use of an electron and how it's alkalized to keep your light burning, or purple light, what I call purple light, which is 900 megahertz, then you begin to understand how it works, what your consciousness is plugged into, how you bust through the 55 harmonic with your state of consciousness. And that means it's sort of like the way he described it, which is sort of the way in a video series, which is known as the World at War, when they had one episode, I believe it was called Barbarossa, which is when the Nazis decided to attack Russia at 4 a.m. in the morning on, what was it, June 21st, I believe it was, in 1941. It's like attacking an elephant which means, as he put it, if the birds keep pecking away at that elephant is gone. That's what was happening today to the stock market, which is the same thing as saying, you know what, we're not giving you any more energy. And so when your state of consciousness realizes you're not giving it any more energy, what happens to it? It's not sucking you anymore, because blood is blood plasma. Okay? They're blood suckers. Okay? That's a parasite. Politics. Poly. Many ticks. Ticks. What do ticks do? Suck on your blood. Suck on your electrons. Drain your light. That's who they are. So this is the liberation of a planet, which is the liberation of your consciousness, which is the liberation of the terrain in which you operate with electromagnetic energy, using your DNA software. That's why healing energies are coming into the planet. That's why this is over. Okay? So relax. The people that are working behind the scenes, that most of you don't even know who they are taking very good care of you, because we all love you. Okay? I'm an Indian, native to this planet. We're supposed to know what's going on, okay? Because they're the guardians. We're the guardians of this realm, because this is our home world. So we're plugged into a bigger motherboard. We run on her stuff, not their stuff. Remember, I covered that? Big difference. That's sort of the crash course of how this all works if you watched all my videos. I couldn't even go all the way back to the first one that I put up when I talked about rule-based functions when you get into the information sciences. It's coupled to DNA software, because that's what you run on, is electromagnetic energy that's pulsed. So what are your harmonics? What are the speed of the waves, right? Which essentially means how powerful is your radio frequency transmitter. That's based on the knowledge of all the above, right? So at some point, I already know this, but it's going to take an enormous amount of memory wipes, because there's just so many units that I run into just in all my travel. They're so fully programmed. It's like, don't even bother. You know, they're running a program they don't even know how to get out of, and they don't realize that there's another way in which they can live, in which their mind is not held captive. So their mind's held captive to a program that they run that they don't even understand, let alone comprehend. And even when you try and break through to show some simple stuff, what do you think happens? They block it. And why is that? Because the program that they're running doesn't want to run another program. Right? That's right. That's how bad it is. That's what happens when you strip out of a child their creativity, their imagination, and abuse them. So they will run a self-abuse program that they're held captive to and don't even understand how it works, because it started in childhood. Actually, it started before that. It started in the womb. Okay? So anyway, that's all I got memory for. You all have a good night. It's what I've been saying all along. This is the liberation of a planet. And if you knew the true galactic history of actually how long ago this energy harvesting system first began here on this planet, you would